Today we're going to talk about what you would do if you were swept up in the middle of a terror attack and how you can prevent being caught in one. All right, so I got a whole lot of gear in front of you here, but my point today isn't so gear-centric as it is common sense, okay? Given the recent events in Paris, I figured it'd be helpful to give you guys some basic info on how to be ready if something like this happens near you. And we all know terrorism is nothing new. The world's always been populated with those who seek power, attention, and control, and acts of terror are pretty much always about one of those things. Perpetrators are predators, and the victims are the prey. And if you're the target of a first wave of an attack, there's probably not much you can do about it. But if you're fortunate enough not to be the victim of the first wave, then you can survive. And often, before the first wave occurs, there are some minute details that can tell you something's wrong. We're going to get into situational awareness. Now, if you folks don't want to listen and you just want to see the gear I show you later, that's fine. You can fast forward ahead. I'm just going to give about a 2 or 3 minute talk on what I use and what I've learned through my training to avoid being in the middle of something like this. Unless I just have incredibly bad luck that day and the guy walks in and pops me in the back of the head, this is what I use in my daily day-to-day travels. We're talking about situational awareness, okay? What I want people to do when you're out today, let's say you have to go out shopping today. Put away the phone, turn it off, take out the earbuds, and people watch. As you go about your daily routine, learn patterns, learn what you think, what you see that's normal, and what isn't. That's your best survival instinct right there. I always tell people if it feels wrong, get away. If something inside you is saying that guy's up to no good, move yourself away as far as you can and as fast as you can. That's situational awareness. It's your mind saying something's just not right here. Okay? Now, a higher level of situational awareness can help you out in many ways. Should you be unfortunate to be present during an active terror attack, it can help in a bunch of ways. First, we're going to start off with allowing you to identify a threat before it becomes active. We've all heard of what terrorists, quote unquote, look like. Some guy walks into a place with a heavy jacket, sweating profusely, maybe has bulges under his jacket. You know something's not right there. Maybe you want to think about where's the exit, That's where this comes into play. With higher situational awareness, you'll find yourself locating exits and routes to exits. So, like at my point in life, I walk into a restaurant and I'll look around and say, okay, there's a door there's a fire exit. Okay, what's for dinner? That's simple as that. It's not, I'm not sitting at the table going, where the hell are they? I got my gun, I'm ready. No, nothing like that. It's just, it's kind of a learned behavior and you practice it and it just becomes natural at that point. The next thing you can do with situational awareness, and something that I kind of do too, is allow you to determine sources of cover. If you can identify a potential threat before it exists, sometimes you can actually prevent the attack if you happen to be armed and able to shoot the attacker, or at the very least, you can protect yourself and your family and get the heck out of there right when that guy with the heavy overcoat walks in right before he shouts Allah Akbar and starts shooting the place up. Now, the next step, and this is a big one. A lot of people have a problem with this. I've watched a lot of video of terror attacks, and this one included, and it's acceptance. That's your first step to surviving an attack. No matter what situation comes your way, the first step to accept it is to realize it really happened. It's right in front of you. Now, this can be tough because our minds are programmed to protect us from emotional trauma. But when disaster strikes, you cannot spend 5 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes thinking, this can't actually be happening. What's going on here? It is happening. And moving past the accepting part will propel you to take your first step into action. Now, when a terror attack occurs, you really have 3 courses of action. And you can break it down this simple. You can escape. You can get as far away from the threat as possible. That's where situationalist comes in handy because you've already checked out those exits. You've already checked out those routes. You can take cover. If you're already in the middle of it, you see you can't get away, You can get behind something solid and wait for your opportunity to either escape or fight back. That's something you may have observed also doing your quote unquote reconnaissance or your situational awareness. Now, everybody knows the difference between cover and concealment, right? Concealment simply hides you. Concealment can be, say, behind a car door. It hides you pretty well, but if you ever shot at an abandoned old beat up car, you know that bullet will go straight through. Cover protects you. Cover will stop incoming rounds, say hiding behind the engine block of a car. Lastly, you have the option of taking out the threat. If you're armed, and by now I hope you guys are, and trained, you can use your abilities to remove the threat. But here's an important one. You have to train, okay? Plan's really important, okay? And you have to train to be able to carry out that plan. If you don't have fitness levels or skills, you won't be able to accomplish what you're planning to do. If you've never shot your gun, if you bought a gun and put it up on the closet and forgot about it, and never shot it, you're probably not going to be too accurate with it when things start going down. Excuse me there. Got a little bit of a cold. So one of the things I like to do when somebody comes to me and asks me about what should I do to get prepared, I'm really concerned about this terrorism stuff. What should I do? Well, I ask them, first of all, are they fit? Somebody may look fit and have a very bad medical condition and may not be able to improve their fitness. So we go from there with that. Somebody may just be very overweight, and strapping on a 60-pound bug out bag isn't going to help them any when people are shooting at them. And if you're not fit, are you working out? Now, I'm not talking about, going to the gym and pumping iron 7 days a week for 3 hours a day. Just, are you working out? Have you gotten on a treadmill and run in a year? Do you know that you can walk a mile? Do you practice your self-defense skills? That's where we got back in with guns and firearms. And even if you're not, if you live in an area where firearms are not allowed, even if you're a skilled martial artist, you plan on defending yourselves with other weapons, baseball bats, knives, whatever, have you practiced with it? Have you learned about it? Have you taken a class on self-defense? If firearms are your thing and you are allowed to carry them for self-defense, are you spending enough time at the range? Do you shoot and practice? And are you comfortable with your gear and your firearm? Okay. If you buy a gun that looks really cool, but you shoulder it and it's just so uncomfortable, again, are you going to want to practice with it? If you buy a gun with way too much recoil and it hurts every time you shoot it and you have to wince, you're not going to be the best shot. You're not going to get the most out of it. Okay? So if these answers to these questions are not yes, you all the planning isn't going to really help you that much. You really need to get on doing some kind of assessment for what you need to do to improve. So the biggest takeaway from this that everybody needs to remember is someone somewhere right now is making plans to kill you. Okay? I know that sounds a little extreme, a little crazy, but yeah, these people are nuts. And somewhere in some far off country, somebody's planning, or maybe even in our country, to hurt us, to walk into a store with a bomb, to shoot up a cafe. They're out there. And you have to train as hard as you can and practice with your gear. That's one of the reasons I love doing YouTube videos, because I take out my gear and I use it. Because I work at home. I don't really get a lot of time out to run up into the mountains and set up camp for the night. So you have to train. You have to practice with your gear. And you have to practice as hard or harder than that person that's looking to hurt you. Okay? Again, when I say training, I don't mean going to the gym and becoming Mr. or Mrs. Atlas. I don't mean weightlifting. I don't mean crazy stuff. Training can be simple as testing your gear. Like I said, doing a YouTube video. Or not even doing a YouTube video. Getting out that wood stove you bought 5 years ago and actually putting some wood in it and burning it and seeing how it works, making sure it does work. Going to the range and doing some drills instead of just standing at a one position, shooting position, and not moving around, Pretend that target's firing back at you. Shoot and move, shoot and move. Practice that if you have a range that you can do that at. If not, do the best you can. Go there, shoot and practice. Learn your basic marksmanship skills. So we're going to move on to some things I've done. Now, like I said, I work at home, so I can afford to leave a bit more gear in the quote-unquote ready position than someone who travels, be it by vehicle or mass transit. As you see this gear in front of you, I'm not exactly going to lug this on a subway, a bus, in the back of my car, in the back seat, maybe in a trunk, but we're not going to do that, okay? But you have to remember now, another thing people think, and gets back to this is really happening to us, is that it can happen anywhere. Now, I live in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. But here's something that most people don't know. Where I live is about an hour outside of Vegas. If something goes down in Vegas, a good chance it could go down out here too. We are an hour car drive away, one highway. So Las Vegas has been a terrorist target for ages. So there's really no reason why they wouldn't decide to come out here and do some harm to us. Okay, basically this gear that I have out in front of you here is ready at a moment's notice. It's set up in my storeroom. I don't leave it out here because this is my garage workshop. And it's ready to go with me at all times. Now, I always keep a handgun near me. As a matter of fact, that handgun in the holster right over there is loaded. So if I needed it, it's ready. And so is the AR. And that goes anywhere in my house. If you don't want to lug around a full-size handgun, heck, just get a neck holster, a quick little pocket holster. Have something on you, because there's always the chance that, aside from terrorism, there is regular crime. Somebody could kick in my door right now and I'd be able to respond. So basically, we're going to move on to the gear, the next part of the video, and I'm going to show you some of what I got and why I have it. Now, I'm not going to do in-depth reviews of my bug out bag or my rifle or anything like that. I'm just going to give you a basic outline. If you're new to preparedness, if you're concerned about, wow, what do I do if this comes to my country, or if this already is in my country, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a basic overlook. So we've got about 11 minutes. I don't want to bore the heck out of people, so we're going to get right into the gear now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start off with today, and I'm going to move the camera in a little closer, is a bug out bag. However you want to call it, there's a million different names for them. This bag right here is ready to go at a moment's notice. Even if you don't own a single firearm, a single weapon, this is very handy. And I've done reviews, I've done videos of all my bags. This is my smaller one. This goes with me on trips when I go somewhere overnight, or, it just sits in the car, or it comes with me if I'm staying in a hotel. And that is a very good defense against having any problems. I mean, you can grab this and you can survive out of it. It's got first aid gear in it. It's got tourniquets, bandages, whatever. This is a very good option to build. And you don't have to spend a ton of money to build one. You're just thinking, shelter, food, water, any medicines you may take if you take regular medication, anything like that. Protective gear, gloves, maybe some N95 masks, whatever. That's your first step. Now, the second step we're going to get into is, of course, my rifle here. I'm going to move down to that. Now, if you don't have a rifle, if you don't have a firearm, that's fine and great. If you have your bolt-action hunting rifle, the same thing applies. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's somewhere accessible. I have this out in my storeroom now, loaded. It's not loaded right at the moment. I have it around in the chamber, but because I'm doing this video here. But it's ready to go, should I need it. I'm not telling you the next time a terror attack happens in a foreign country to jump out of the front of your house with all this gear on and your rifle slung over you. No, this is for home defense. Let's say you live on a ranch, all right, and you hear an odd noise at night. Well, it comes in handy there too. Where I live in a kind of rural area in Nevada, me stepping outside of the house with this probably wouldn't cause a panic. If you live in a crowded, dense area somewhere in, say, South Carolina, with all your neighbors right next door to you, it may cause a panic. You have to know your area. And again, this is a last line of defense. This is not my main, if I hear a burglar at night, I'm grabbing my handgun. I'm probably not going to grab this. But in a worst case scenario of, say you live in an area that's very densely populated, and one of these guys decides to drive through your street and start shooting up houses, at least you got something to shoot back with. Okay, very far-fetched, may not happen, but you've got the gear ready. Next is what I like to call my battle belt. Now, yes, I have plates and plate carriers, all sorts of bullet-resistant stuff. This is what I would put on if, say, down the street, I've got 4 guys shooting into a house for no reason at all other than, they want to kill somebody. This is a very simple setup. I keep my extra handgun in it loaded. I got 3 handgun magazines, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Got 2 rifle magazines here, an extra one in the gun. And I keep these extra mags stored in my room, kind of in an ammo can or on top of one. I have some on top. This has a tool. I did a review on this one. This is the Real Avid AR tool, but it's got bunches of handy little tools for any of your weapons if you need it. It's got a blowout kit, first aid kit. Got your tourniquet and everything else you'd need in there in an emergency. And something kind of nice, but you don't really need it, a dump pouch. So if I want to dump my empty magazines in there or whatever, this opens up. This is a Maxpedition. It opens up and becomes a full-size dump pouch. This gives me a bunch of rounds and a handgun ready to go at a moment's notice. And it lives in my storeroom. Now, when I go out, my storeroom locks, it's alarmed, and the guns go in the safe. I'm not telling you to leave this stuff lying around where your kids can get at it or where it wouldn't be safe. Generally, when I leave, I take my carry gun with me, and any other firearms in the house, except for one that I have hidden, stays in the safe. And the one that I have hidden, if somebody steals it, I really don't care. It was a $100 gun. It's a Hi-Point carbine. My wife loves it. She hides it in her closet. She's good to go with it. That's what she shoots. She's not big into handguns or ARs. So that's just some basic stuff. Now, you don't need all the guns and weapons and gear and all that too. Like I said, common sense, a little bit of, situational awareness will save you from ever having to use any of this stuff. And you don't have to be Rambo. You don't have to run into the fight. If you judge that it's safer to get your family away than draw your handgun and shoot at a potential terrorist, do it. Get away. You're one less person. You're one less statistic. And again, too, you have to realize that this is actually happening. It's really happening to you. This isn't a movie. You're not imagining things. Act right away. Don't even think. If somebody's screaming in front of you, Allah Akbar, and pulls out an AK, do what you got to do to survive. Anyway, thanks for watching. I didn't mean to bore you with a really long intro, but I just had some basic thoughts and ideas because a lot of people right now are probably coming to YouTube and going, what do I do? How do I protect myself? So now I've given them some basic info on how to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Stay safe.